us about your roots, Baguio City, Philippines.
At the time, my dad was living in Baguio. I believe we had a property there. And I think my parents decided that it was probably safer or better education in the
Mhm.
Philippines. And I think the joke was that they didn't think I'd survive in Manila because it was too hot since I was born and raised in Southern California. So because my dad was living in Baguio and it was a much cooler environment, they thought it'd be better to just go to high school there.
So if I talk in Filipino in full Tagalog, you will understand it.
Siyempre naman.
Oh, okay. You will
Pero
understand it, but can you speak it? That's the question.
marunong pa ako mag-Tagalog, pero medyo bulol na.
I see.
Nahihirapan ako mag-Tagalog. Pero
Okay.
naintindihan ko na mabuti.
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Let's talk about the most asked question. How did you end up in NASA?
So going through education, I was really good at math and I loved science. But when I was in high school in the Philippines, I believe I kind of saw the debate team, and I thought that was very interesting. And so after I graduated from college, graduated from high school, I decided I wanted to go into accounting pre-law because of what I saw in the debate team. But after 2 years of college, I kind of stepped back and I had a conversation with my uncle and my mom. And they said, Gregory, you should do something that you want to do, not what you think other people want you to do.
Mhm.
So I basically started over again in college. I switched my major to physics
Mhm.
and I found this love for space and astronomy again. And when I was, I think, a second year in college, one of my professors asked if I wanted to do an internship with one of his previous students, and his students was working at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is where I work now, JPL.
How old were you then when you started working for NASA?
Right. So as an intern, let's see, so I must have been 21 as an intern.
Wow.
And
You
then as
you
an
were a child.
employee, I was I was a child. I'm still a child. And then when I got hired as an employee, I was 23, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
During on landing day, I was it was a mix of feelings because again, I was just so focused, but also in the back of my head that this was the culmination or the end of a lot of work. So if you watch the landing video, I had a few call outs, meaning when things were happening during landing, I was saying what was happening for some of them. It was weird because I would hear my colleagues say their part and I would tear up a little bit because I was thinking, oh my God, it's working. But then a few seconds later, I'd have to snap back and tell myself, focus, you're not done yet. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was back and forth every 30 seconds or so between almost crying to almost celebrating to focus back until you're done.
How did you feel when the rover finally landed on Mars?
It was overwhelming, really. It's a joke that I don't cry a lot. It's very rare that I cry, but I'll tell you, when we confirmed that the rover touched down, there's a good amount of tears falling from my eyes for at least 5 seconds or so.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really quite such a relief. So the first thing that people have to realize is Earth and Mars are different, which is probably you can tell in terms of like the environment they're in, the atmosphere, and just different conditions. So the first time we do a real test is on Mars. We can't really do a full test here on Earth. And the way we help with that is we do little piece testing on Earth. So for example, I led a parachute test campaign in the world's largest wind tunnel in 2017. And so we would test the parachute in this ginormous warehouse with 40-foot fans. And we would do that for all of our different hardware, the rockets, the space capsule that's holding the rover. We would do testing individually here on Earth. And we try to simulate the environments that we're going to see in Mars.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it's hard to just do a full rehearsal of the spacecraft on Earth because it's so different. Um, Another big factor you need to consider is the distance between the planets. So if you have a remote control car or a drone here on Earth, if you tell it to do something like go forward, it's going to go forward almost immediately, right? Because like it responds quickly. But because Earth and Mars are so far, if you send a command, it will take some time before the spacecraft receives that command and does what it needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't really control the rover in real time for landing. And what that means is that the rover has to do it in an automated fashion. It does it all by itself. And that's really, really nerve-wracking because we have to rely on all the hardware that we built, all the software that we gave it so that it can kind of think on its own. And that's one other reason why it's so nerve-wracking to be able to trust the spacecraft that we built and let her fly by herself.
Gregory, how important is this mission for you? Because you have done it in the past. So what makes this mission different from the first that you did?
Right. I think the difference, well, there's two main things. One is I worked on this mission much longer than the first one.
Okay.
When I joined Curiosity, I think it was only a year before launch. And so Perseverance, I've worked much longer, and so I'm much more invested. But also the cool thing about Perseverance is it's kind of paving the way for future exploration. One thing that it's supposed to do is collect samples. And then hopefully in the future, we're going to send another mission to bring them back to Earth. And we've never brought anything back from Mars to Earth. And I think that's a really cool kind of contribution, you know, to say that, oh, look, I was part of a effort that brought back something from Mars, which has never happened before. And in general, you know, I like the idea of humans being able to go to Mars one day, and we have technology on the rover that's going to help with that. So there's an instrument called MOXIE, and this instrument's job is to breathe in the air of Mars, which is mostly carbon dioxide, and then it's going to breathe out oxygen, which is what things that humans need to like breathe and use as rocket fuel. So, you know, for that reason, I think it's much more meaningful to me because I've spent so much more time on it, and it's a really cool thing that's starting future exploration of Mars.
And what is the likelihood that one day this Fil-am will also be joining the expedition going to Mars?
I hope the likelihood is 200%. It's, you know, it's always been one of my dreams, but it's really hard to go into space.
A lot of people would probably think that you're all hard work, no play. What is your life like when you are not working? What do you spend your time on?
All of my colleagues are very like cool people. A lot of my friends have taught me how to rock climb. So I spent like 1 or 2 years getting really into rock climbing because a lot of my friends are outdoors people, exploring national parks. You know, and of course I like to binge shows on Netflix. I've done that. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan and Breaking Bad. So everyone at JPL is really, really, they're really cool people. On top of being like super, super smart, you know, I got to learn a lot of different things from a lot of my colleagues who just enjoy life. And before the pandemic, I loved traveling. I think I've been to, what is it, like 20 plus countries. So yeah, I tried to like travel every other month or so before the pandemic, and I missed that. So hopefully when things calm down, I can go back to traveling. But you know, we're all just normal people. And I think even though we do work a lot, I think JPL provides a good work-life balance. And so, you know, it's such a great place to work because of that. We get to do cool things and we still get to live our own lives.
Why is the rover landing on Mars an important news during the pandemic? What message does it impart?
Right. You know, the pandemic has been rough on a lot of people, probably almost everyone. And whenever we watch something like the Perseverance landing, which I believe the whole world was watching, and at one point we were #1 trending on the YouTube channel. So that was cool. But, you know, I think when we get to experience these type of events as a human race, it's a great way to just everyone to just kind of step away from all their problems in the world, just for a moment, and look at things that would inspire hope to other people, that there are like things greater than us that we can all work together to accomplish. I like using the analogy of, you know, the Manny Pacquiao fights. I remember kind of as a funny saying, and it's true here in the US, right? Whenever Manny fought, it's like every Filipino just stopped and gathered to watch Manny fight. And I'm sure the Philippines just took a break as well. And I like to think that something like the Perseverance landing was just that, but at a human level, right? Like all over the world. And I'm sure that that's what people experienced back when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. So it's just a good little kind of perspective for people who are just, for everyone who's just struggling their own problems and struggles during the pandemic. It just, look, there's this sense of hope, and, you know, it's something that we should always keep an eye out for and strive towards together. Rovers. So, there's a lot of things along your path that might not go the way you expected, but things happen for a reason, right?
Mhm.
And I think one of the main lessons to learn is it's okay to fail as long as you just keep trying, right? Some people don't even try. So you need to try. And if you fail, make sure you get back up and keep trying.
What advice would you give to Fil-ams, European Pinoys, who are probably in a difficult situation in their life during the pandemic, but they have this big, huge dream like working for NASA or any dream that they want to achieve? What would you like to tell them?
Yeah, I think two things. One is it takes time. Don't get discouraged if you're trying to make this giant leap to, you know, start from school and getting a job. It takes time and perseverance, as the rover mentions. So, the important thing is that you start and you just do little every day by day. And when you add up 1% over time, it's a lot, right? The second thing is I think it's extremely important to find something you love. I know that's a cliche, but as I said, I switched over 2 years into college into physics, and that was the right move because I go to work every day, but it never really feels like work. And I think when you find something that you love to do, it'll be much easier in life. So, there's a lot of things along your path that might not go the way you expected, but things happen for a reason, right?
Mhm.
And I think one of the main lessons to learn is it's okay to fail as long as you just keep trying, right? Some people don't even try. So you need to try. And if you fail, make sure you get back up and keep trying.
Correct.
Because I got that F in college, but I kept going. I got a 10% in that physics GRE, but I kept going. And now I'm getting to live my dream job just because I never gave up.
So follow up on that question from what you have shared with us. How much of you is hard work and how much luck?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think earlier on, it was a lot of hard work, but nowadays, I like. There's also a saying that's how does it go? It goes, work smarter, not harder. So I think I still work hard, but it's just a matter of being efficient and understanding what the right things to do are in life. And I think people should understand that there's that level of efficiency. And another nice thing I like to hear is what it's success is when opportunity meets preparation. So part of it, of course, is just like timing of where you are in life and things you need that you're prepared for.
Mhm.
The story I like to share here is when I was asking for a job at NASA JPL, I literally sent out 125 emails to a bunch of bosses at JPL. And so I wasn't just sitting around, sending one job application. I was doing my part to make sure that I can have the best chance possible to get a job there.
How important is your roots to what you have achieved now?
Yeah. Um, they're very important. I have a lot of pride in being a Filipino, mostly because the way my mom and my dad raised me. It instilled upon me this set of values that I've taken with me as I progress through life. Things like respect, right? I think that's a huge thing that maybe not a lot of other cultures have, and I really got from the Philippine culture. Even at work, there always has to be some level of respect because if you don't respect each other, then it's going to be hard to communicate with each other. Another important thing, which is why I love that I went to high school, is valuing life. I know that the Philippines is kind of a third world country, and I saw that firsthand for years. And so when I got back to America, it made me really appreciate the value of money and food and not wasting things because I know there are other people in the world that don't have these things. So I think it's just instrumental, being a Filipino, and I love that my roots are from the Philippines. I want people to know that this is a team effort, right? Nothing great is done alone, and I'm glad I can bring kind of pride to our country. But you know, anyone can do this, and I'm glad. I think that there's a Philippine Space Agency now, as I heard, and I'm very excited to see where that's going to go. So, in general, just keep doing what you're doing, work hard, and if you have a dream, don't give up. You need to persevere to achieve your dream.
On that note, thank you so much. Maraming salamat. Mabuhay ka, Gregory Villar.